everyone, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm super excited to do a new video series I plan on doing on my channel called The Recently Watched, which is not at all an original title or concept. Before we do, if you're new here and you haven't subscribed already, definitely subscribe, hit the bell notification, dude, all that fun stuff so you don't miss out on any of my videos. I'll start out with TV shows because there's less of those. I watched only one episode so far, but I watched the first episode of My Guest Needs No Introduction. This is a Netflix talk show hosted by David Letterman. The first episode was with Barack Obama. It was amazing. So highly recommend that if you haven't watched it already. I also watched select episodes from Black Mirror. If you're interested in the episodes I did watch, I watched season 1, episode 1, National Anthem. I did not particularly love that one. And then I also watched season 1, episode 3, The Entire History of You, which was very good. I also watched season 2, episode 1, which is called Be Right Back. That one was quite good. I enjoyed that one. Season 3, episode 1 called Nosedive. That one was pretty good, not the best. Season 3, episode 4, which is called San Junipero. That is one of my favorites. It's so good. Season 4, episode 1, which is called the USS Callister. That was also wonderful. So I'd say USS Callister and San Junipero were my favorites. This, if you don't know, is a serialized story, so each episode contains its own centralized story. So Black Mirror is a kind of sci-fi-ish, Twilight Zone-ish storytelling narrative that basically just takes issues and perpetuates them. Things like if social media went this way or if things went that way. It's kind of like speculative fiction with commentary on political, societal, etc. issues that are happening right now. I also watched The Vampire Diaries season 3. Watched The Vampire Diaries all the way up to season 6. But I never continued watching after Nina Dobrev left the show, and I wanted to watch the last 2 seasons. I tried to watch season 7, episode 1, and I was so confused. I could not remember what was happening. So I decided to just start at the beginning and rewatch my way through. So in this rewatch, I am at season 3. I finished season 3 now, and I am on to season 4. Also watched Ruby season 5. If you don't know, Ruby is a web series animated story by Rooster Teeth, which is an online web company, and they're amazing, and Ruby is amazing and fantastic, and the season was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Such a good show. The girls in the show are amazing. This world and world building and the direction the story is going, it's so top notch. I really enjoy it. Also watched The Amazing Race season 30, and I really enjoyed this season as well. I have been loving The Amazing Race the last few seasons, which is when I started watching the show. I wish I would have watched it years and years ago because I really love it. But I do have a really bad habit in the show of picking a team that I don't particularly like really early on, and then that's the team that wins. Like every season I've watched, the team I have liked the least has won. Then I watched Big Little Lies season 1. Don't be upset, but I have not read the book for this yet, but the show is really good. I really enjoyed it. They got the city of Monterey, California really wrong, but the show itself is really good. I love it. I also watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend season 3. I love Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. If you don't know, this is a musical style TV show and it's amazing. Season 3 took us in a different direction than the first 2 seasons did, but I really appreciated it because there were minor issues I had with the first 2 seasons. So minor, I still love the show so much, one of my favorites on TV, but there were things that like made me feel like maybe this isn't the greatest. And they took those issues and made them serious problems this season and tackled them and addressed them, and I'm so happy they did that, and I'm very happy with the direction the story took in the 3rd season. I also watched The Good Place season 2, and it was so good. The Good Place for me is like the best currently running TV show. I love it so much. I think it's so smart and so funny and so great. I love it so much. Season 1 was a step above phenomenal, but season 2 really stepped up its game. I was really interested. Didn't think the season could top season 1. Then I finished Runaways season 1. We were watching this as the episodes came out, and I'll just say that I love Runaways, the comic book series, and I don't necessarily love the TV show, but I watched all of it. I followed it. It was a thing that happened. And the last TV show I watched in the last few months is Queer Eye. I just recently watched this. Manny and I started watching it, and we just tried it out to see what we'd think of it because we had heard so many people talking about it, and we could not stop watching. It was so addictive, and I'm so upset that there's no more episodes, but I'm so excited because we just got approved for season 2. I love all of the guys. If you don't know, this is a group of queer males. They go to make over guys, and not just make them over in like pick different outfits, but they make over their lives in a like really unique way. They take a house and redesign it. They pick a new wardrobe for them. They groom them. The Fab Five is so fabulous. I love them so much. I cried so many times watching this show. Almost every episode had an emotional moment during it, and I just can't express how much I love this show. I didn't expect to be so obsessed and enamored by it. I think it's so, so good. Now, I watched quite a few movies in the months of January, February, and March, so we're just gonna go through these as quickly as we can. The first movie I watched in 2018, though, was How to Be a Latin Lover. I honestly don't even know how to describe this movie. It was funny, it was good, it wasn't the greatest thing I ever saw. It basically follows a man who marries a woman for her money, and then they divorce, and he has to kind of figure out his life without her and without her money. I also watched The Post, which, if you don't know, was an Oscars contender starring Meryl Streep. When I was in high school, I was editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper. I was dead set on being a journalist. So as an aspiring journalist, I was so inspired by the Watergate scandal, which was broke by the Washington Post and Woodward and Bernstein. Also, we have the story of the Pentagon Papers, and this is what this movie is about, is the Pentagon Papers. But essentially, the point is, I've loved the story of how the Washington Post became what we know them as today. The Washington Post and the story that is their rise to be the paper we know them as is so inspiring to me and will always hold a special place in my heart. So I was bound to love this movie. I think the actors were fantastic. The story was well done. I really enjoyed so many aspects of it. I can see why other people didn't like it, but I also can see why, knowing my background with the Washington Post and just journalism in general, why I was like pretty much bound to love this movie no matter what. I also watched Paddington, which is the cutest thing ever. It's a live action story about a bear who talks and becomes a part of the family, but it's so endearing and cute, and I love it so much. I also watched The Maze Runner: The Death Cure, which is the last movie in the Maze Runner trilogy, and I, for one, am so glad that they didn't split this last movie up into 2 movies. Second of all, I'm glad that they finally were able to film it. Dylan O'Brien got hurt on the set of this movie, and they had to take a break and release it later. I think they turned what was a mediocre story into a wonderful conclusion to the series. Cloverfield Paradox just magically dropped, so I watched that because I love the Cloverfield movies. I specifically love the second one most. This one was a disappointment. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely the weakest of the 3. Then I watched The Battle of the Sexes. This is basically telling the story of the epic tennis match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. And I loved this because it's such an interesting tale, but essentially this movie tackles LGBTQI rights and also feminism and female rights, and it's just so wonderful. Just all of the rights, all of the equality, all of the awesomeness in this movie. I really enjoyed it. Then it was time for Black Panther, which was the best movie to ever, like the best thing to ever happen to the MCU and to movies, and just 2018 is a year for the world to change, the movie world to change, and it starts with Black Panther, which was epic and amazing, and Michael B. Jordan has been my favorite actor for years, like since 2013, since Fruitvale Station came out, and I'm so glad you guys are all finally on board with the Michael B. Jordan train because he's amazing. It's perfect and magical and wonderful, and all of the feminist female fabulousness in this movie. The women are epic. The diversity is on point. Wakanda is amazing. Killmonger is the most awesome MCU villain ever. I love him so much. I loved this movie. It was perfection. Next up, I watched Annihilation. I really, really disliked this movie. I specifically dislike this movie because we have a cast of female characters, but they are all damaged, and that's why they're in the situation they are, and they all don't necessarily get the best conclusions. I don't like the way they were treated, even though they were the driving force of this movie, and I can see why you would like them. They are very strong in their own right, very smart, very determined. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love this, but I really dislike this movie. I gave it a 1.5 stars. It was pretty. That's what I can say for it. It was visually pretty. That's why I got a 0.5. Then I watched 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This I thought I was gonna absolutely love because this is just like the female of the species, essentially, or that's what I thought, but it's not. Essentially, this is about a mother whose daughter was raped and murdered, and the police do not have any leads. Our main character is the mother of this young girl who was raped and murdered, and she is very upset. She rents 3 billboards, and she put words on them like, young girl was raped wow, murdered, no arrests, why, officer, whoever, whatever. Crappy characters who are racist, and then they have redemption arcs, which is just so upsetting. I just didn't like this at all. If you're looking for a feminist revenge fantasy story, read The Female of the Species. It tackles these issues so much more nuanced. Next, I rewatched Get Out because I was just in the mood for a horror film, and I love Get Out. It's just as good as the first time, if not better. I got to watch the alternate ending. The ending that they went with is way better in my opinion, but it was interesting to see the other direction they were originally going to take with this movie. I love this movie so much, 5 out of 5 stars. If you haven't watched Get Out, what are you doing with your life? Go watch it. It's perfect. Then I watched The Florida Project, which is about people who live in a motel and are just not well off and living their life, and it's just kind of a character study, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful. The color palette was really interesting, and it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it was super good. The character development was really good. It was really emotional. Then I watched A Wrinkle in Time, and I'm not going to get into it too much here because I'm going to be in a live show about this, but I did not particularly love this movie. I love what it did. I love the diversity of the casting. I can support the people who made this movie and the strides it made in diversity without enjoying the product that was created. Really didn't necessarily like a lot of it. I thought the music was weird. The characterizations were weird. I felt like it was just woefully underdeveloped, and not necessarily a fan, unfortunately. I wish I loved it so much more than I did. Then I watched Love, Simon, and this was a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to talk about it because I have a review all about this, but it was perfect. It was everything I wanted from this movie. If you don't know, this is an adaptation of Becky Albertalli's Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. The movie world is just changing in 2018 quarter 1, largely in part to Black Panther, A Wrinkle in Time, and Love, Simon, and I'm so happy these movies are being so wonderfully received and groundbreaking and just awesome in general. Then I watched The Ritual, which is a horror movie that went to Netflix. While this is not like the best horror movie I ever have seen, it was really good. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I definitely enjoyed my time watching it. I thought it was really cool. After that, I rewatched Thor Ragnarok. This is just an awesome movie, one of the best MCU movies. Phase 3 is just really awesome in my opinion, and this is one of those awesome movies in Phase 3. The most recent movie I've watched is Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which was not very good in my opinion. You know, it was falling into these cliches. No people are like these tropey character cliches at all, and like I get that they had to start somewhere in order to have growth and character development, but like good writing, you can start a character being at a cool place and make them even better. You don't need to make them like lame caricatures of stereotypes in order to give character growth. In my opinion, that's just poor writing. So that's all for my recently watched. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've watched any of these TV shows or movies, comment down below and let me know what you thought of them. And if you haven't already, you should definitely subscribe to my channel and thumbs up this video. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!